Welcome to Leadership Support Process Descriptions, and thank you for your interest. We hope you'll take time after this short presentation to explore the other Triad Unlimited presentations on YouTube. Follow us on LinkedIn, and visit our website to see all our service and training offerings. Leadership Support establishes processes for leadership of the asset management program, including communication, controls, risk management, and continuous improvement. You see, the most important function in AMP is this very first one. Getting this function right sets the stage for successful implementation of AMP. Getting it wrong ensures that AMP will never be implemented. The management system for governance has 4 functions involved with it, and every function, like I said, has 4 processes. Processes that are involved in leadership support are senior leadership involvement, developing an asset management council, devising ways to perform risk management, and to set up processes for tactical improvement. Senior leadership involvement encourages stakeholders that the path for necessary changes in the organization is clear and stable. An asset management council provides a single point of contact for all decisions regarding asset management. This lends credence and clarity to asset management messaging as processes, roles, and responsibilities change. Leadership involvement and creation of an asset management council serve to manage risk associated with process changes and evolving roles and responsibilities. The Asset Management Council periodically reviews asset management performance issues, asset management processes, and other opportunities for asset management program improvement. Senior leadership involvement establishes senior leadership roles, communications, and interactions with the asset management program. Senior leadership involvement must be demonstrated early and often. This typically takes form in creation of an asset management communication platform like a newsletter or a blog. A thorough explanation of why asset management is important to the organization, along with a mission and vision statement from senior leadership, can be the focal part of a program kickoff. Leadership must communicate expected benefits of undergoing changes in the way assets are managed and the consequences of not implementing asset management process changes. First steps include defining the change management team structure, which defines how many resources are going to be needed for the effort and where they are positioned in relationship to the project team and project sponsor. This is done in conjunction with a sponsor assessment, structures and roles effort that provides an understanding of the leaders across the organization who will need to act as sponsors of the change. This is where we identify possible challenges with leaders and start to formulate plans to bring all the leaders that are necessary on board so that they can actively sponsor the change. This is a representation of a typical reporting structure that can be modified for implementation almost any place. If there's a network or corporate layer or other need for a sponsor steering committee presence, it's simply an add-on with an additional charter or roles and responsibilities toward governing the program. The sponsorship section can also be implemented as a startup support structure that functions to develop and enable the site team for some set period or until some benchmarks have been met. The program management part of the chart recognizes the tactical part of program management that can be deployed at the site level. Ideally, the core team members represent the practical governing body of the asset management program, sometimes called the Asset Management Council or some similar title. Each core team member is responsible for identifying communities of practice subject matter experts who will provide the primary process development information related to their community of practice. Development of this sort of structure is very important toward getting AMP off the ground and sustaining it as processes are developed, implemented, and improved. Formal lines of communication must be established and maintained through periodic meetings between senior leadership and implementation teams at the site level. Asset Management Council establishes a defined group that develops, reviews, and approves asset management policy and makes key decisions. Fundamental to leadership support is creation of an asset management council consisting of key stakeholders in the asset management program. Members are typically site managers or department head level personnel who have authority to create and change processes. This is another representation of the AMP organization chart from the previous slide. The Asset Management Council is the executing entity for asset management at the site level. The AMC typically operates under a charter that defines the council's scope of mission, responsibilities, and authority. The Asset Management Council meets regularly to review asset management process development, execution progress, asset performance, and opportunities for improvement. The AMC is really a focus group of site leaders who are stakeholders and change agents for asset management. Since asset management includes essentially everyone, this is where the message is developed for distribution. This is where the what's next is decided, and where the DMAIC, that's define, measure, analyze, improve, and control, for the asset management program is practiced. It is important for the organization overall to understand that there is commitment of time and resources involved with implementation of an asset management program. Ignoring this early structuring and planning phase almost guarantees the desired AMP will not survive to full implementation. This results in a worst-case scenario of moving away from where you were or from the shore without a paddle, only to become adrift with no way to return to where you came from. Process 3 is risk management methodology. This identifies, categorizes, and administers asset management program risk elements. Leadership support involves risk management. The risks are potential threats to fully implementing asset management successfully. When we talk about resources, we're talking about things that are common to any organization. The cost and effort of management, asset care execution, the cost of maintenance and materials, the cost of contracted services, and the cost of the software and other technology that supports asset management. This graphic illustrates this concept, and it will be used to represent input that needs to be processed by the asset management program. This graphic represents the risk scale that represents the output of the asset management program. The risk categories represent how the AMP processes are influencing risk to the organization. The less effective the processes, the higher the risk. Remember, we're trying to achieve the least risk feasible relative to the resources that are available. All of the inputs are evaluated in terms of how they currently support relative to world-class standards, resulting in a grade for each AMP function in each management system. This data is then used to provide a risk model for the AMP. By creating a clear, prioritized project vision, the assessment provides leadership with a basis for creation of a detailed project charter and project plan with clear objectives, scopes, and deliverables. By clearly and thoroughly describing the intent of the project and the means that will be used to accomplish its goals, risk management becomes possible. The communication is typically undertaken in the form of a meeting of all stakeholders facilitated by the AMP core team or AMC. As the project progresses, risk must be monitored and risk priority evaluated for change. Tactical improvement methodology establishes a roadmap to close identified asset management program gaps to ensure program effectiveness and efficiency. This is where the rubber meets the road. The prioritized project roadmap becomes a task list that can be managed to completion, resulting in a functional AMP. Initial improvement is about closing the gaps identified during that assessment from the last slide, and risk analysis. Later, process improvement is a refinement of implementation. Believe me, there are no way that 96 processes are all going to be perfect initially. They may be functional, but they're not going to be perfect. Practice makes perfect, and as processes are implemented and executed, opportunities for improvement will present themselves. The AMP must include a process to allow a healthy dialogue about improving the AMP. Improvements should be managed through a process from issue identification, evaluation, assignment, tracking, and closeout. The project tasks are usually tracked by the AMC against the overall project progress and health. The AMC considers impact on roles and responsibilities, interaction with other AMP framework functions and processes, and potential risk to business if change is implemented. Improvement plans must be formally assigned to an owner, and a timeline must be established for completion. Improvement plans must contain actions necessary for implementation, timeline for completion, and responsibilities for executing actions. To summarize, leadership support must communicate expected benefits of undergoing changes in the way assets are managed and consequences of not implementing asset management process changes. Creation of an asset management council consisting of key stakeholders in the asset management program is vital to AMP success. Risk assessment provides leadership means to create a detailed AMP project charter with clear objectives, scope, and deliverables. Tactical improvement is a method allowing the Asset Management Council to assign, track, and measure AMP process improvement tasks. This concludes the Leadership Support Process Descriptions presentation. Thank you for your participation.